to Quick Concepts for Advanced Math 1. Today we're going to be talking about completing the square. Now there is also going to be a quick concept in Algebra 2 on completing the square, which is going to be a lot more thorough than this one. So this one's just going to be because you've already had it. It should just be jogging a little bit of your memory. But completing the square is extremely important, so it makes sure that you are comfortable with it. So completing the square is just a way of factoring to where we can figure out where x, what the roots of x are in a parabola. So the first thing you want to do is we want to get it into the right form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove or switch these around and bring my minus 5 over. Now this is the form you want to start with. Everything set. If you notice, I've moved the 3x squared. I kept it on the side where it's positive. If it was negative, I would move it to the other side because you really don't ever want to have a negative there. So now that I'm ready, I'm going to move the 5 back over to the other side. I know that seems a bit redundant, but I want you to understand where the best thing to do is start. So step 1 is moving the constant over to the other side of the equal sign. The next step is we can't have anything in front of the x squared, so I'm going to divide everything by 3. So this becomes x squared minus 1/3 x is equal to negative 5/3. Now don't let that 1/3 confuse you. It's just x over 3, x divided by 3. I just like to write it like that. It makes it a little bit easier. So now we are ready to what we call complete the square. So we're going to do that by taking half of what's in front of just the x. So if I were to say half of negative 1/3, I would get negative 1/6. So I'm going to take half of negative 1/3 and I'm going to get negative 1/6 and I'm going to bring it down here and I'm going to bring one of the x's down. Okay? Now I'm going to square it. Now what I mean by that is I'm going to actually square this. So the square of that is 136 and I have to add it back to both sides. This is what actually completes the square, quotes. Okay? Now I need to add these two, so I have to get a common denominator. So this is going to be 12 over 12, so it's negative 60 over 36 plus 1 over 36 is equal to negative 59 over 36. Now remember what we're doing here. We're trying to figure out what x is by completing the square. So I have to get x alone. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Oops. That just gets rid of the radical. Now remember, when there's a negative under the radical, you have to bring an I out. And our last step, of course, is just to bring this over and make sure you use the plus or minus because that could be a positive or a negative under the radical. We don't know which because anything squared, negative is positive and positive is positive. So that is all we need for that one. I'm going to do one more just to make sure you're comfortable with it, and then we will go from there. So let's say we have x squared minus 4x minus 12. So if I move this over, leaving a space to complete my square, I'm going to take half of what's in front of the x, which would be a 2. I'm going to square it. Oops, not 2. 2 squared is 4. And add it to both sides. Then I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Don't forget that plus or minus. And then I'm going to move this over. And I have 2 plus or minus 4. So now I can actually work this out. X is equal to 6 or negative 2 because 2 plus 4 is 6 and 2 minus 4 is negative 2. So that is pretty much it. Once I get a completing the square one up for Algebra 2, if I don't have one, it's going to be a lot more thorough. So this is hopefully for those kids in Advanced Math 1 who remember it a little bit, just need a little refresher course.